So this is probably the last video that I'm going to make on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 unless something insane happens in the post-launch period. But the reason I've been covering this game so much is because it finally feels like the complacency of Call of Duty is catching up to the series. A complacency that is a result of leadership wanting to factory churn out Call of Duty games year after year in this annualized release cycle that is not helping the series at all. The developers need time to make something great, and with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, it's clear that it was so rushed that the developers just straight up could not make and could not realize the full potential of what this game could have been. I've already talked about the lead up to the game's launch, the ad campaign on Xbox that wasn't well received with the pop-up ad, stuff like how the file size for Modern Warfare 3 is ridiculously huge at over 200 gigabytes, how the game for some reason required a Modern Warfare 2 PS4 disc. This was an error that has since been resolved, but it highlights the fact that this game was very much intended to be a Modern Warfare 2 DLC, and there were errors resulting in the game not being able to be launched without launching Modern Warfare 2. And then there is like just data management surrounding this game because of the requirement of COD HQ, which takes up a lot of space and makes launching Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 just a pain in the butt, combined with the fact that the campaign was only 3 to 4 hours long on average, and also because this is essentially a Modern Warfare 2 DLC, the game doesn't have a platinum trophy because it's categorized as DLC for Modern Warfare 2. And then came the review surrounding the campaign itself. IGN gave it a 4, saying that the open combat missions just clearly weren't fully fleshed out, and the length of the campaign doesn't help, combined with the fact that the overall quality of the campaign, its set pieces, the story just didn't do it any favors. GameSpot also didn't give it a very high score, gave it a 5, listing out similar pros and cons. And then Video Games Chronicle here calls it a thin and disappointing entry. And reviews basically are like that across the board. Content creators also gave the game pretty low scores. There's a whole compilation here of what people are saying about this game, and it's not positive sentiments. Beyond that, the community itself have labeled this easily the worst Call of Duty campaign ever. So the feedback has been pretty vicious. Now, people were hoping that the multiplayer side of things might do better, but things are pretty bare bones there, as well as Modern Warfare 3 will only have remake maps from the 2009 Modern Warfare 2 at launch, a strange map pool. There's no dedicated co-op mode, but instead a Treyarch-developed Zombies mode that reuses the Warzone map. And then following the multiplayer launch of the game, issues began to crop up, like how certain maps had to be pulled because the spawn points were glitched out and people were being spawned in the same place or at odd spaces, where it kind of broke the game, where it allowed the enemy team to essentially just camp out a certain spawn point and make the experience unplayable for folks. And now let's take a look at where the game's sitting at in terms of Steam reviews now that it's been out a few days. Well, from 4,192 reviews, the game is currently sitting at a mostly negative review score of 26%. Even by Call of Duty standards, this is pretty damn low. And then scrolling down, you'll find some of the user reviews, would rather buy WinRAR, says this user. But I mean, in terms of general feedback, I mean, everyone's panning the campaign, combined with how bare bones the multiplayer feels. It doesn't feel like it made a huge step forward to warrant the 3 in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. This very much feels like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.5, maybe 2.1. And as one would expect, it's still Call of Duty, so a lot of people are tuning in. There are a bunch of players who are checking out the game right now. So you can see right here that there are over 100,000 players playing right now in terms of 24-hour peak, 136,459 players. Now, this does combine Modern Warfare 3, Warzone, and Modern Warfare 2. I'm not exactly sure how accurate this is in terms of just specifically looking at Modern Warfare 3, but looking at this chart, one thing does become apparent, and that is that Modern Warfare 3, in terms of how many people tuned in at launch, is significantly less than Modern Warfare 2's launch, as reported here by Dexerto in an article whose headline reads, Modern Warfare 3 falls short of Modern Warfare 2 launch with huge player count drop, which is something that investors won't be happy about. What investors want is this sense of infinite growth. They want each new entry to have more players than the last, show greater signs of growth. But with Modern Warfare 3, we're starting to see that plateau and kind of starting to decline. Modern Warfare 3 peaked at 190,273 concurrent players on Steam during the game's launch weekend, referring to this stat right here. If you look at the launch period at around November 12th, that's around where that number's sitting at. And then when we look at the numbers for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and compare them to Modern Warfare 3, you can see right here in Dexerto's report that Modern Warfare 2's debut in October of 2022 peaked at 262,875 players. Modern Warfare 3's launch had over 27,000 less concurrent players at launch than Modern Warfare 2 did, which is significant enough that it highlights that people are kind of becoming burned out by Call of Duty, and they've heard enough about the negative feedback surrounding the campaign and the fact that the multiplayer is pretty bare bones, and just the fact that this feels more like a DLC to Modern Warfare 2, that it did have a tangible effect on the game's commercial success, it would seem. Is it still going to make a lot of money? Yes, but is it going to make money that highlights growth for the series, which is what investors are looking for? It's not looking like it. And that's actually, I think, a good thing, and not because I take pleasure in seeing games fail, but rather because Call of Duty does need that wake-up call. Developers know that they need more time to make better Call of Duty games, but the higher-ups won't give them that time, and with this kind of reality slap in the face, hopefully this will tell Activision, hey, now it's starting to affect your bottom line. You need to start delaying Call of Duty games and stop with the annualized release cycle that is just not tenable to make these games good and to make each new entry feel like a significant step forward. Speaking of significant step forward, I recently had the fortune of upgrading my gaming desk. Which brings us to the sponsor of today's video, Flexispot, makers of high-quality, height-adjustable standing desks. There's a wide variety of options on offer, but the one I got right here is the E7 Pro model, which is perfect for people like me who like to work and game on a large surface area that's also incredibly sturdy. This table is designed to be wobble-free with a frame made from carbon steel and featuring a unique embedded junction for added stability. And with its built-in dual motors, the desk's height can not only be adjusted from as low as 25 inches all the way up to 50.6 inches, it can do so smoothly and steadily even with up to 440 pounds sitting on top, keeping everything on your desk safe and sound. You can either make smaller adjustments based on your height, posture, wrist position, and general comfort, or you can switch from a sitting stance to a standing stance and vice versa for a wide variety of gaming and work-related use cases, made more convenient by the keypad's ability to save 4 height presets. This desk is also great for those who favor being neat and tidy thanks to cable management trays and compartments it arrives with. You can also go even further with not only the ability to extensively customize its aesthetic design, but also modularly add accessories such as additional cable management trays, power outlets, extra drawers, caster wheels, keyboard trays, monitor stands, feet hammock, you name it. All of this comes at more affordable prices compared to other brands, as Flexispot sells their products directly from the factory, meaning no middleman to jack up prices. The value gets even better with the Black Friday sale going on right now, as well as the $30 you'll get off your purchase of E7 and E7 Pro standing desks and C5 ergonomic chairs by using my code BFYTB after clicking on the link in the description box and comment section below. And it's not just commercially where Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 has been negatively impacted. Critically, this is the worst Call of Duty game ever made. Looking at the reviews here for the PlayStation 5 version of the game is sitting at an average score of 55% from quite a few reviews by now. 4 plus 31 plus 11, that's 35 plus 11, which is 46. Jesus, my brain. From 46 reviews that not only looked at the campaign, but now at this point also looked at the multiplayer, we got a 55 out of 100. And scrolling down, you can see the range of scores that are on display. The highest we've seen for this game is 80%, but that's few and far between. The rest of these reviews are mostly in the yellow, sitting at 70, 60, 50, I'd say is... between 50 and 60, that's where the range of scores tend to sit at. And then the occasional, 40 and, I don't know, is there a lower one? Okay, so 40 is the lowest that goes. But you can see right here that these ranges of scores, they're not particularly enticing. It definitely highlights that this is an entry that generally is not well recommended. This places Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's average review score lower than some of the more critically panned AAA releases this year, including Forspoken, which is sitting at 64%, and frickin' Redfall, which is sitting at 56%. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 barely managed to beat it by 1% at 55%. And this also means that looking at the entire library of PlayStation 5 games released in the console's entire history, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is the 13th worst reviewed PlayStation 5 game of all time. The top spot goes to one of the most infamous game releases in recent memory, The Lord of the Rings Golem, but being not far behind The Lord of the Rings Golem, that is not a good place to be. As for what critics are saying about the multiplayer aspect specifically, here's IGN's verdict, which gave the multiplayer specifically a 6 out of 10, saying Operation Deadbolt's attempt to reanimate Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Zombies mode by merging it with the machinery of DMZ isn't always successful, but it's not an inherently bad idea when you start hitting on the right combinations of difficulty, planning, and random chance. It leads to fun, intense moments that leverage some of the best ideas from both. But what's fun here is frequently undercut by way too much time spent grinding for gear needed to survive the intense enemies in the center of the map, busy work story objectives, and crashes that can kill any desire to play. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The technical state of the game, I've heard, is not particularly great. Plenty of people are frustrated about the frequency of crashes and issues that just don't make for a smooth gameplay experience. Operation Deadbolt has great moments of tough battles against gross monsters that had me full of panic and dread, but only if I was willing to put in a lot of time and effort to make them happen. Here we have GameSpot's review of the multiplayer experience specifically. They were a bit more generous with a score of 7. The good remastered maps look great, classic Call of Duty features return, weapon tuning is gone, and Zombies brings objective-style game that keeps you hooked. As for the bad, complete lack of never-before-seen core maps. So again, a lot of it is just recycled content. All the leveled up Modern Warfare 2 guns create an unbalanced environment. One of the features of Modern Warfare 3 is you can bring content like guns from Modern Warfare 2 and transfer them over to Modern Warfare 3, but it seems as though that can create some imbalances here and there. Player progression is more of a grind, so grind is brought up again, kind of like what IGN talked about. And finally, the reliance on nostalgia might not last. Again, not enough new content, too much recycled stuff that makes this feel more like kind of an expansion or DLC, akin to the way that Overwatch 2 feels more like Overwatch 1.5 or Overwatch 1 Chapter 2 rather than a true Overwatch 2. And then here we have Rock Paper Shotgun saying that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer is a tiring nostalgia trip. That's what they say about the game as part of their review, and they complain about very similar things. Is the multiplayer awful? No. Can you have fun with it? Yes. But the issue is that at the $70 asking price, to see it launch with such a bare bones, short, and kind of lower quality campaign, combined with the fact that the multiplayer just doesn't make enough leaps forward, doesn't offer enough new content, doesn't feel feature rich enough. You know, the combination of just the fact that this feels like they just needed to rush something out is what's being critically panned, especially when it's being sold as a brand new standalone game. On OpenCritic, you can see right here that the average review score is sitting at 59%, but only 10% of critics recommended, which is likely the worst percentage of critics recommend we've seen from a Call of Duty game. And then beyond that, as far as average review score goes, Forbes has confirmed here that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is the lowest scored game in the entire history of the series, and it's not even close. It's by a significant margin. As of this report, Modern Warfare 3 was sitting at a score of 53%. It is now sitting at a score of 55%, which is not a big difference anyway. And looking at the second worst rated Call of Duty, which is Vanguard at 73%, you can see that that is like basically a 20%, 18% difference. And it's crazy to think that the series could stoop so low, but I've always felt like it was a matter of time given the rate at which the publisher demanded developers to make these games to, again, factory churn them out. Eventually, as the demands for the series grows, as game development becomes more complex with expectations being higher, and with these developers essentially being given roughly the same amount of time, if not less, if reports are anything to go by, like this report right here from Jason Schreier, which according to the sources that he spoke to, Call of Duty developers, this game was developed in less than a year and a half, in 16 months. It is no wonder that the game launched in the state that it did. It's no wonder that the campaign disappointed so much and why it felt just basically unfinished and like they had to essentially cut corners with that. And same with the multiplayer, they shipped it so bare bones that, you know, not even news outlets who've been more forgiving of the Call of Duty series are letting this slip by. But Sledgehammer Games, in this official statement that they put out via Twitter, they insist that we have worked hard to deliver on this vision, which has been years in the making. Anything said to the contrary is simply not true, says Sledgehammer, essentially in response to Jason Schreier's report that this game was made in 16 months. But based on the results and based on the fact that developers are speaking out to individuals like Jason Schreier to share their story about how their experience was like making this game, it's hard for me to believe Sledgehammer Games' statement here that this was years in the making, when just playing the game, you can feel how this was essentially made in one of the shortest development cycles we've seen in a Call of Duty game. You can tell that this product was rushed and that a lot of corners had to be cut to make it to the deadline that the higher-ups, the executives, demanded, instead of giving this game what another year or something is probably what it needed to flesh out the open combat missions, to ensure that the multiplayer comes with a host of new content to really make this feel like a proper sequel. Even if we assume that Jason Schreier's report is actually false and that the game really was years in the making, that is not a good look. If Modern Warfare 3 was years in the making and this is the result, then we're in real trouble, because I mean, is this the kind of quality we can expect from a project that has been in development for as long as Sledgehammer claims it has been? I would prefer to hear that they only had 16 months to develop this game, because that would explain why the quality is so low. Whereas if you told me that they spent years and years on this thing and this is how it came out, that does not give me a whole lot of, hope for the future. But anyway, people have been asking Activision that they give developers proper development cycle timelines to develop the best Call of Duties with each new entry. And nothing makes a better case right now than how Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 launched and the way it's being commercially and critically received. Hopefully this can serve as a message so we can begin to see improvements. That's ultimately what I want out of this, for executives to finally get it through their heads that this is not sustainable. In the meantime, though, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, all of the developments surrounding it, and if you've been playing it, what your experience has been like with the campaign and the multiplayer. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.